What's going on, y'all? This is Alexander, and you are plugged in to the Nerd Companion.
And you see people who are like crazy about magic cards. And I was like, man, I used to have them. This little, like, he's not like a cousin, but he's like a family friend. I remember years and years ago, I think I was like fresh out of high school. And he was like, hey, can I play with these? And I was like, sure, I don't care. And
These are magic cards?
Yeah, magic cards. I had a freaking bag and like booklets full, right? I remember leaving and coming home and I was just randomly, I was like, hey, whatever happened to those? Mom was like, hey, ask him. And I asked him and he was like, oh, I lost those. And I was just like, only because I was curious about what I had. I didn't even really care, but I was like, I wonder what I had. I might have some badass cards and not even.
You did. Like, I remember you built like protection from certain color decks where you make yourself invincible. It used to make me mad because your parents, I think your parents or somebody you knew would actually take you to the store, or it might have been Ricky. And he would take to get specific cards, and my parents were like, yeah, no.
The card level, just freaking sick deck. I got into it. There was a card game app for a little bit I got into for a second.
Magic the Gathering app?
Yeah, an app.
It's on there. Mm-hmm. The only thing I don't like about it is that they make you purchase cards. And that's the thing with any of these digital games that offer like a digital asset that you used to have a physical asset for, is that you don't get your physical asset. Mm-hmm. So there's no incentive for me. Like, I want to do it because I want to play, and sometimes impulsively I'll buy it and I'll go, oh yeah. But then I regret it because I'm like, what am I buying? I don't have anything. Mm-hmm. And so if they offered like a physical asset with, even if it was marked up like 20%, you know what I mean? Like, I would be more incentivized to buy it. Listen, Wizards of the Coast. How
much do they charge for the app, for the cards? Are they cheaper on the digital?
No, it's the same. Like, so you're paying the same price for like a booster or something like that. It's crazy.
See, that's stupid. Yeah. Hold on.
Go ahead and crack this open and toast to Stone Cold Steve Austin with a little caffeine wiser.
That's a sick belt. I didn't realize that was his. Yeah.
Real deal. Real deal. All right, dude. Tell me who you are. Introduce yourself.
Hey, my name is Guion Branch. Go by Guy for those of y'all who don't know me. Yeah. What else do you want to know about me?
Okay. Who are you to me?
I'm Alex's best bud from, sixth grade?
Ish, yeah.
Sixth grade-ish?
Yeah.
I feel like sixth grade's when we met. That's accurate. Used to live together in Cypress, Texas, which is a outskirt of Houston, for those who don't know. Cypress, Katy area. This is the perfect podcast because we definitely grew up being nerds of different things. So this is like the perfect, podcast for someone from our ilk.
So what do you do right now?
Right now I own an entertainment company here in Houston. We do weddings, corporate events, DJs, photo booth staging, lighting, all of that jazz. The company has been together for years on years. We actually were lucky enough to purchase it, 2018. So we took that over and been doing that, which has been great. And of course I do songwriting. That's kind of my passion. And in between here in Nashville doing that, and it's been pretty good.
I feel like when we were kids, when we played music together, like, I remember thinking to myself, and I'm not sure if I said it, but I remember thinking to myself, like, dude, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life, and I don't care what happens.
Yeah.
And how quickly that goes out the window.
Yeah. No.
I feel like a lot of people do that, and I feel like you really stuck true to that.
Man.
Like, really stuck true to that.
Man.
And I'm not sure if you ever said that, but surely that was something...
You think it,
yeah,
right?
You think it. You kept it going, dude.
I appreciate that, but funny enough, I mean, I took a long break. Like, I took that same break of okay, now I got to focus on school, and I was not after a year out of high school, I was in a band and we went and did a little tour and we played Warped Tour. Then right after that, we broke up. That was it. I stopped.
What happened
music.
with that?
It was just what you would imagine any band in high school-ish times would do is you break up because it's too hard to keep all those different minds focused. When you're an adult, you understand that a business is a business and you're much more mature when it comes to that kind of stuff. And we were just all immature. So I don't even remember what it was now, but it was all, I have this going on and that going on. And it's new songs and changing the sound of the band and just all these disagreements and things that just were not staying together. It was just whatever. But so I took the longest break of even doing stuff. So it's funny because I don't know, 5-6 years, a chunk of time where I wasn't doing music. And then during college, I went to go get a sound engineer degree, audio engineer degree here in Houston, and focus on that a little bit. And that kind of brought me back into the world.
Fold.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. I remember when y'all said you were going to play at Warped, I was like, oh my God. Like, they made it. Because that's like the dream. You know what I mean?
Totally is the Mecca, for sure.
It was like the equivalent of Warped Tour is the equivalent of like a teenager Woodstock.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
no,
it's a huge deal. Huge deal.
Like, holy shit.
Yeah, dude. So yeah, whenever y'all perform, it's like, dude, they made it, dude. That's it.
They did
That's
it.
No,
He's gone.
don't forget your boys.
Yeah, yeah, sure enough. 1 year later, here we are.
That's so crazy. No, but I really admire that you followed through with all that and you're still doing that. And I don't think a lot of people keep with those goals that they set out that kind of make adjustments. You didn't. You're just like full steam ahead.
Dude, I appreciate that. I would just say to anybody who's listening in terms of life goals, like my road has been one that's winded. It hasn't been a straight path, right? It's like, I think that's the case for anyone who has dreams. It's like if you get deterred, which I for sure did. I was years of a time, and still even now I'm not doing what I would have thought I'd be doing then. Then was like, oh, I want to be on stage and play. And now I'm like, I live songwriting. I love songwriting. I love the idea of like writing songs for others and producing and all that. And that's been since COVID really that my mindset changed to that direction of like, oh, this is a whole thing. And then falling in love with country music. I've always kind of liked country, but not really like focused on it. But then I started actually like listening to the songs, and I was like, and like as a musician, I'm sure you would get the same way. If you haven't gone deep into country, give it a little try. You'll be like, holy crap, like you're going to cry a lot because of how good these freaking songs are. But it's just like, it opens up a world of understanding. It's like poetry, and it's, you know, these amazing ways of turning a song. And I don't know. So yeah.
I can't say I fully am into country. I think I like the late 90s kind of country. Mm-hmm. But there's something about like this new country that I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
And I think that's just the age of music that we're in, where everything is so digitalized.
Yes.
Like I can tell a difference between a raw drum kit, like an actual drum kit, and then something that's like on a pad.
Yeah. 100%.
And I can hear it and it irks me.
Yeah.
Because one example is Jason Aldean. Every single song that he plays, everything just sounds digitally composed, and it just irks me. Yeah. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, that's just your own taste, and that's okay. Like, to each their own. And there's what's cool is like in Nashville.
Nothing against Jason Aldean.
No,
he's killing it. I'm just
he's doing his thing. And now there's like a cyclical thing though, where people are loving classic country music again. So like more artists are starting to have an older sound and go back. So maybe you'd find your tastes there if you check out, like there's guys like Ernest, even Morgan Wallen, who's got half of his stuff is like trap and like kind of more digital, if you want to call it that. But now he's got stuff that's very classic. Like, oh, this is all right. I mean, he's always had classic touch, but like if you listen to some of the newer guys, they're saying it's going back in time to those older sounds. So
really,
yeah, you might find something you like there.
Oh, thank you so much.
But yeah, it's funny you say that, because like for me, I've always thought of you as like, God, I still want to do music with you, because we've grown up. Like for those listening on the pod, me and Alex had a band called A Second Too Soon. I have no idea. I actually looked this up the other day and I couldn't find us, but I think it's on like, maybe if Reverb Nation's still a thing, that might have us on there, because we had stuff up, if you remember, on one of those like websites.
Pure Volume.
I have to Google that on the break.
Yeah,
but
there's no way it's on it. I remember DJ Lindley. Yeah. He had posted, this was years ago, but he had posted it as like a memory.
Yeah.
And I laughed. I was like, man, that's so funny.
Yo, but like for those who don't know, if you can find it, A Second Too Soon, you'll see Alex's face on there. But dude,
everybody's face is on there.
Yeah. But your podcast host, you'll see him on there. But no, dude, like I don't know. I've always wanted, like I've always loved when we were able to do stuff back then. I'm like, that would always be so cool if we could get back in. I have to find Chris one day and be like, hey man, get down on some music, bro. But no, man. And I know you've been like, do you still play guitar? As in this room, there's guitars, but you still
not as much as I'd like. I've kind of made it a goal this year to embrace more my creative side.
Yeah.
I've always found a lot of stress relief while being creative, and I think I was doing a lot of creating, whether that be like stories in my head or imagining what I would do in a video game when I was at school, because I just wasn't interested at school. And my imagination was always running wild at all times, right? Mm-hmm. And I feel like that has become or was a big part of my identity. And I feel like I kind of lost track of that. In my adult life, just with things that, as any adult goes through life and picks up responsibility, you kind of like put other things in front of that. And I feel like I kind of let that side of me die, being dramatic, of course. But I definitely, those creative thoughts and the ideas don't really occupy my head like they used to. But I don't know.
Yeah, man. But at least it seems like you're getting into this thing. And then, of course, your guitar is in this room, man. Never sleep on just picking it up.
They're good at collecting dust, I'll tell you that.
But no, man, I think it's kind of the beautiful thing about that I'm seeing about life is like there's always the whole, as cliche as it is, it's like it's never too late to find yourself again or find those new things or that inspire you or whatever it might be. So it's like, it's all out there, man. Like, and I listened to your podcast on failure, which I loved. I was like, you got to make sure to continually do that. Even though I think it was like a filler kind of thing you were doing, but don't sleep on doing that. Like I'm sure the listeners right now, like if you haven't, go check that out. But it's a great kind of side piece of like a note and kind of the things that you go through in life. And it's a good thing, like pick those topics. And I don't know, I think just on what you were talking about with failure, it's like that same concept and thought. It's like, you don't fail unless you let it become a true failure. It's like, yeah, you're going to go through a tough thing and you'll fail and you'll grow from it, or you'll go through something and think you lost yourself or whatever, but you just find your way back and, look at it as a learning experience, man. It's time to pick up that damn guitar is what I'm saying.
Drop everything and pick up that guitar.
The damn guitar.
What is that quote that Gandalf says about Strider before he picks up his name? It's like, what is it? Not all those who wander are lost, or something like that.
Yeah. That's become like the coffee mug.
Is that the coffee?
At this point, it's become like a coffee mug thing. I don't know if that's the exact quote, but yeah, I remember seeing that on like a wall somewhere, and like I feel like that's become one of those like live, love, laugh kind of things. Like, not all who wander are lost. It's 100% true though.
I can't say it anymore. If it's on coffee mugs written in some sort of cute cursive, I'm not saying it anymore.
It's one of those things.
Oh no. Okay. All right. Lord of the Rings is dead. Thank you.
Oh man, God. That's the companion we need is Lord of the Rings, man. It's like, geez, we
can do a whole episode on Lord of the Rings if you want to.
We'll have to
reconvene. We'll have to reconvene on that one. So what is it that you're doing in Nashville?
Yeah, so in Nashville, I mainly do songwriting with other songwriters. That's the main thing. So like, it's such a crazy thing. It's like, I liken it honestly to like, and this sounds totally like douchebaggy, but I mean it in the most like literal way, is like, I liken it to like a Hollywood kind of thing where you go into Hollywood and they say like, if you go get lunch, your waiter's trying to be an actor and the coffee person's trying to be an actor. Yeah. It's the same thing in Nashville. It's like everyone is there to try to write music, right? So, and they say like there's some crazy amount of songs every day being written when you're in town. So it's a matter of going there, meeting people, and trying to just work that way up and write with better writers and create. They always say, make your tribe, have your group of writers who you write with. And like every time we go, it's just a matter of more of those things, trying to find new writers and get in better writing rooms is what you would call it, and just improve on that and just become a better writer altogether.
So when you're talking about writing rooms, these are like little groups like that you basically are making projects for?
Yeah, well, it's really just like a room is like, it doesn't have
not
to be
necessarily a physical room,
right,
but like
exactly. And it's literally just you and whomever. And what they have in Nashville are your standard everyday writers who are the people trying to write, and then people who are what they would say signed or published writers, meaning you write for a publishing company. And those companies generally are your connection to the artists generally. So it's like Sony Music, for instance, they have a recording contract for artists, that side of their company. They also have a publishing side, and that means they've signed writers, and those writers are writing songs for Sony. They turn in their songs to Sony, and Sony has a connection, obviously, with probably every artist, or as many artists as you would imagine. And that's how your song, through the channels, the proper channels, would get pitched to Jason Aldean, like we were talking about, or whomever, right?
Gotcha.
So,
does Sony have like a bank of songs? Like, so they go in there so they just collect them?
Oh my gosh.
And so they have a whole bunch of songs like in the vault that they don't even use?
Dude, so they talk all the time. Like, I was in a meeting with the publisher, and they were talking about how they'll go into crates from like decades ago of old writers who've turned in songs that didn't hit at the time. They'll pull them out and be like, oh, this is actually pretty good. And they'll pitch those even now. So they've got, when you're a writer, you're literally what you write, it's just like being like under Apple and you're a engineer. Whatever you create is their property, basically, right? So they own it. It's the same kind of concept. You write a song, you turn it in, it's their song. You still have your credits and stuff, but they own the song.
So whenever you sell a song to Sony and it goes into their collection box, essentially, do you get any sort of, monetization by that?
Well, not by turning it in. You're paid as a writer, so you're paid a salary. They pay you so that you don't have to have a job.
Oh, so you're like an employee under Sony.
Exactly.
Gotcha. So it's not like free agents or like, not necessarily free agent man is like a poor, but like a independent songwriter, and that Sony's like, oh, I really like that song, we want to buy that song, and then they keep it in their vault.
Exactly.
Or is that an option too?
That is an option. Single song deals are a thing too. Yeah, we were so close to having one forever ago with this song that finally actually just got picked up by an artist. But that's like such a real thing where it's like, okay, you're good, but maybe they don't really love all the stuff you're doing, or you just have a true smash. You're like, dude, this is an undeniable smash. They'll do a single song deal, whomever. And yeah, that's just a one-off kind of thing. So
that's crazy. So let's say, so if you work for Sony and you just get paid whatever salary to make songs, and I imagine there's probably some sort of worked in deal in the contract that you do have to produce X amount of
100%.
music, because it's not like
month,
you can just sit there on a
in.
couch and be like, I'm making one song a year. It's gonna be a bang,
It's gonna be, I guarantee you, if you did that though, they would leave you alone because it's so hard to write a number one or a radio smash. So if you were able, like, I promise 1 year per year, they'd be like, okay, they would probably leave you alone, honestly, because not every writer's. I mean, there's only so many number ones, and there's plenty of writers, right? So that would be amazing. But that's exactly it. It's like I forget the last person I talked to, but there's a certain amount per month like that they expect you to turn in. And I always thought, I was like, man, like that seems kind of crazy. But they always tell me, like, these writers, like the true like pro signed writers, they're in writes once a day, if not twice a day. So like, and
they write out 2 songs a day is what you're saying?
Yeah, like if not more. They have like 3 hour, 3 daily blocks potentially, but it's like
I don't even know how you remember any of
2
that.
to 6. Well, you write it and you do a little work tape, record it on your phone, like, and then turn that in, or work up a little demo, turn that in.
And that counts?
And that
like
counts.
like a demo?
Yeah, that's your thing. And it's if you're signed and they say you owe us 12 songs a month, for instance, that means if I write a song with one other person, then that's a half song.
Right. You. Okay.
So your one song by yourself would be 1, but if I write with 4 people, that's a quarter of a song that you turned in.
That you
because
just divvy
thinking
up.
it from their perspective, it's like, well, we have to split that 4 ways. So you haven't really given us one whole thing. That's kind of their mentality.
That is so crazy that I imagined that this sort of model of creation existed in the music industry, but I didn't realize it was that prevalent. How many artists do you think write their own music, knowing now that you've like really immersed yourself into this industry, like how legitimate do you think that these performers are? Well, I mean, they're obviously legitimate because they can play an instrument, they can sing, yes, they can perform, but in a sense of creativity, because I know you've been around people who can perform but can't create for shit.
Right. And
you know people who can create amazingly but cannot perform.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, where do you think that percentage lies that you have these performers that can perform but are not creative at all?
That's such a great question. I don't know what the percentage exactly would be. I would just say for like anybody who's listening, when you watch the Grammys or anything, if you look whenever they win, it shows you underneath all these names. Like when they say they're like, Beyonce won this, and it shows you a bunch of names as they're walking up. It shows the song name and all these names. And I'd always look at that and never really get it. And like literally, like I remember Rihanna went up and it was like 11 names under the song, and I was like,
Jesus,
what? And that means there's
people?
11 people who have written on that one song, like literally.
And
it's
it can
crazy.
be like, so it could be like one person just hitting a triangle one time in the back and he gets credit.
That's production, so that's a separate side. But lyrically, ideally,
so maybe even
lyrics too? But even musically, technically, you could be a writer on the song. But it's really weird. It just depends on the way the song's made. But yeah, technically, if you played something, it just depends on like who's producing it and who is in charge. Because like I've written songs with friends, and it's like if I just played a little guitar riff on the thing, like a little solo, I would never ask for a writing credit because anyone can just play. So that's kind of a work for hire thing. Like it could just come up with an improv. But if I made the riff that was the song, like the whole riff was like, and like that was the idea. Of
like that was the.
Then I would be like, no,
that was the verse riff.
Yeah. Then that's a different thing, right? So it's that part of it's a whole nother.
I feel like you were going Chris Stapleton right there. Like the way you sung that.
No, but hey, no, but it's a whole freaking thing, dude. It is wild how in depth and but no, I mean, if anyone has like Spotify or Apple Music, if you go on Spotify and you're listening to a song, there's a little 3 dots or whatever that is on the song. Click it and it'll say song credits.
Yeah.
Click song credits, shows you who the writers are, the producer, and all that. So you can learn for yourself these things. But yeah, I don't know the percentage. I'm curious. And the bigger the artist is, they're going to put their name on it anyways. So like Beyonce probably doesn't write everything she gets, but she's so big that she can be like, I want writing credit on everything. And who would say no? I would give her,
as long as I'm getting paid.
I would give her more credit than me on a song. I don't care. Like, you take 80% at your Beyonce, my 20% on your song is going to be way more than 0 of not Beyonce.
Right.
So it's like that. I don't know if that's the case for her. I'm sure she's a talented writer as well. She's freaking insane. But yeah, I think, it just depends on the artist and all that too.
That's crazy, dude. That's absolutely crazy.
It is wild.
I would have never, I guess I don't give it much thought how that industry works, right? And that's why I guess it's good to hear that from you, because I would never thought. But that makes me skeptical. You know what I mean? Like
of
when
the artist?
Now I'm like, man, like I don't know.
But that's the beautiful thing. Like I think, and after learning more about like being an artist, like you have to be kind of crazy to be an artist because of how much goes into it. Like you really have to put your, like starting from the ground. I mean, if a label kind of found you off of like a TikTok and like helped you build up, you're at such a good place because they're going to help make the machine's going to help build you up. But if you were just like me or you and you're like, I want to be an artist, like you have to be crazy because of how much work you truly have to do to put yourself out there, show your face on social media and try all these crazy things to just look like
stay relevant and make it look like you're putting in like the work, even if you're not. You know what I mean?
And then you think about like, as weird as it is, you do kind of have to have a look. So you have to like start worrying about how you look and what you're, like it becomes crazy
as a performer.
Like you actually have to care about like what you look like out in the world. And like me personally, I could never care about them. Like, I mean, I care, but I don't care enough to be like, oh, I need to make sure I've got an earring on my left ear and I got that.
I think, I think the I don't care is the look at self.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
No, 100. You're so right about
like
that.
Generic,
that, like, yes,
everyday dude.
Yes, that
or gal.
There's a vibe if you can just do your own thing and it just has an essence to it, without a doubt. Yeah,
like Keanu Reeves. I know we're talking about music, but like. He's got his own thing going. Like he's not like he's not walking around in a 3-piece suit. Like he looks like an ordinary dude on a subway with ordinary people.
Yes. And that's
eating sorbet.
Energy. Yeah.
Just being a regular dude.
Yeah, that's so true. And that's his 100%. And he's a musician too, for that matter. But that's his energy for sure. Is like, yeah, he just does his own thing. He's my guy for
Keanu Reeves.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So he seems like a cool dude.
Matrix is one of my all timers.
Oh, we need to do another cast on that one. Dude.
Oh my god, I could go super deep with complaining about the third or the fourth, I should say, film. And then
I got.
You didn't finish it?
I drank a lot of bourbon prior to it. So at some point I said to myself, let's come back when I'm not drunk. Because I probably had like 4 cocktails and I was watching. I was like, I'm kind of wanting to go to bed.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And I don't know that you'll love it sober, honestly. Like maybe you will. For me, there's like, and I need to watch it again. I've watched it like 1.5 times. I watched it and I was like, and then I put it on.
Morpheus just doesn't hit. Like in that scene, I'm like, brother.
Which I don't get why that didn't happen. I know there's a story behind it. I need to look that up. I remember kind of reading why he didn't come on for it. And I love that actor and other stuff.
I thought it was going to be the, golly, Childish Gambino. What's his name?
Daniel Glover.
I thought it was going to be Daniel Glover that played Morpheus.
Or Donald Glover. I'm sorry.
Donald, yeah.
Like don't sue us. Like I don't know Gambino. That's like hilarious. Danny Glover? No, Donald Glover.
Too for this shit, Riz.
Yeah, exactly. I used to think that was his son for the longest time. I'm trying to look like,
it's a strong, talented family.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought Glover was going to be Morpheus. I don't know why.
I could have dig that.
No, Glover? I love him, dude. I feel like everything he does is pretty good.
Hell yeah. Have you seen Mr. and Mrs. Smith yet? His show?
No.
It's good.
There's too much.
Too much TV.
Yeah. I legitimately feel I'm going to be on my deathbed and I'm going to look around and I'm going to regret not being able to intake the media I wanted to intake. There's too much media. Yeah. TV shows, movies, music. Like there's too much. Podcast is a whole other one, dude.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
Like there's too many. Like I have like 4 podcasts that I listen to. Each Joe Rogan's one of them, and each one of his episodes 3 hours long.
Yes. It's impossible. Exactly.
It's impossible.
There's no way for the amount that's coming out. There's not enough time in the day, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's so true. And podcasting is such a good point because I'll listen to sports stuff. I'll listen to whatever little topic I love, TV, rewatch podcasts, whatever it might be. And I'm like, I'll fall off and I just literally will let the show go because I can't keep up with it. And then I get behind and I'm like, all right, well now there's new.
Now I've got to listen to 16 hours worth of episodes just to catch up.
It's too daunting. And then like, I used to like, what is it called? True crime podcasts. So like not making murder. My favorite murder was so good. I was so deep into that show for a while and then I just couldn't keep up and it was just so much. And I was like, all right, well, and I don't even do true crime anymore, but I used to be hardcore into that. But there's just too much content. It's literally like slow down world. We're moving too fast here.
Yeah. Too much media to consume for sure.
As we add to the pot of media right now with more.
Mine's more important. I bet mine's better. I promise. I'm the best.
Right. Listen to this freaking
I'm just kidding. Just kidding. The, to go back about with the industry of music. So what kind of artists have you already worked with songwriting?
So I've worked with up and coming artists, so far. As I like knock on wood, I have a few things out with some larger names. I'm not going to say it because it's like bad juju. I don't want to jinx anything, but the few things out with like a few bigger names potentially. But some up and coming artists who are incredible. We have some stuff with a guy named Eli Gurley, who's really great. I think he just released something we did called Chasing the Wind.
Is this country?
This is country stuff. Yeah. And then, there's a really great artist called Michael Warren who's exploding right now. If y'all haven't checked him out, check him out. We got some stuff with him, hopefully coming down the pipeline soon. And, Phil, who, Phil Morgan, I write with him the most. He's been completely just shutting it down, killing it in Nashville. He introduced me to an artist named Whitney Wren, she's like a TikTok influencer who's like millions of followers, really big, and she wanted to do music. They crossed paths through a mutual producer, and I have a song coming out with her, I want to say in a couple months. And she just released a song yesterday as well.
As a performer or a writer?
She's a performer. I'm an artist. I'm a writer on the song. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. So
right on.
Those are the ones that come to mind. Some other stuff that I'm probably not thinking of. But yeah, those are the like up and coming or just came out stuff.
And this is all country, right? This is the majority of what you're doing?
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, like, so for instance, in a perfect world, if I get to a publisher, I hope that they have ties to pop and like different stuff because I write everything. Like I love country music and I love true crafting a song in country, but I also love writing pop and dance and like indie stuff. And like, it's the same like stuff we grew up on. Like in a perfect world, I wish like there was more space for, more money to be made in like rock,
I think there is.
There
I
is.
think you just have to define it.
I agree, but I think there's less avenues, right? Like there's not as much radio play for the type of rock, I should say, the type of stuff that would be in that. Like if you think about like heavier stuff, like for instance, I don't know if you still jam gent, but I know you've loved gent. But like,
always.
If you wanted to make a career,
metalhead for life, dude.
Right. If you want to make a career in that, you have to be like one of one, basically one of like 5 people who would be a songwriter who would be so good that you would be able to work with enough bands to make enough money as a songwriter.
Do you think that these metal bands don't make their own music?
I know they do, but I'm saying if that were an avenue, because you think about how much money they're probably making, unless you're talking about writing for like Metallica or Slipknot or something at a really
like super big,
right? And there's just not that kind of audience in those genres, I would say, that generate enough money to then in turn have people underneath writing songs and making a lot of money too.
At least to be in that part of the industry where you have songwriters for them.
Precisely.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I was like, it's definitely, I don't know. I feel like metal's huge.
Oh, dude, it's huge. It's so big.
I just don't think it's a mainstream thing.
Exactly. And that's where it's like, if you were going to be a writer, because I can tell anyone listening, it's an arduous, like, oh my God, if you're trying to make money in that thing, because think about what streaming is now. You're making 0.00001
because of streaming?
Well, mainly, yeah. If we were still in a CD age, I'd be like, everyone's making money. But you're making a fraction of a cent per stream. So as a songwriter, it takes literally a huge number one song or a huge song to make any kind of money. Like to make
when you say that decimal, I'm thinking like million plays for maybe like $1,000.
It's something like that. It's like 1 million plays. I think get you like $4,000 or something. It's something or like $8,000 or something. It's something like that.
1 million plays really is
don't
not
hold
a
me
lot.
to that, but it's not. No, it's not. And you think about, but you look at like a Drake or something with like $1 billion. You're like, oh, okay. Or like hundreds of millions of plays. And it's like, okay, well now you could, having one of those, that's like could pay you for a year's salary of like a good job, you know? So it's like, and that's just one song. So if you're really good, you're killing it. You know, if you're writing smashes, you're doing just fine. So it just depends on that.
Dude, I see that in y'all's future for sure.
I appreciate you. I love you for saying that. And I pray that's the case. I mean, that's, you know, we hope to be able to I don't want to, I own my business, but I'd love to fully step away and have someone take it on underneath and do this full time, which is kind of the whole process and struggle of it all, right? With even moving to Nashville, it's like having to make sure I still balance time and have, you know, enough work or work enough to keep the company where it needs to be and have someone come in possibly underneath. It's a whole thing, but
it's awesome.
We'll see.
What other projects have you worked with?
Musically or
like, has that always been country? Has there been other things you've been doing?
So
trailer
before
music,
before never, dude, I like the dream is to get into any kind of trailer stuff. I have a note on my phone for anyone who is like a songwriter. They know about the notes on the phone. I have this note of songs that I want to do for trailers. So you know how when a trailer comes on, and this will take us honestly this will take us into Dark Tower talk, but you know how when a trailer comes on, it's like an old song redone in a new way. It'll be like, for instance, I have this idea for I'm on Fire by Bruce Springsteen, like, oh, I'm on fire. Hey, little girl, is your daddy home? You know that song?
Yeah.
So I have this idea and it's this dark version of it, but it's used as like a trailer film. And if you think about it, it's like comes in with a really creepy guitar riff and it's like, hey, little girl, is your dad? So it's made to be like it's like a piano. Exactly.
And it's like,
yes. And if you remember Jordan Peele's movie had I Got 5 on it on Get Out. Or not
Peele
Get Out,
is a motherfreaking genius, dude. He is a movie making genius.
Genius. What was the movie in between Get Out and Nope?
Us.
So on Us, when that came out, the trailer was I Got 5 on it, but it was a dark, scary.
Oh, that was such a good.
And it was that thing, right? So it's like that's a whole thing, and I have a list on my phone of like songs to redo in those ways. And the one that I want to do for anyone who knows Dark Tower, they have Someone Saved My Life Tonight by Elton John as like a key piece of that book. The last few books is like a key piece, and it keeps getting brought up and it keeps getting brought up. So when they do the trailer, I'm like, God, I want to be ahead enough of the curve to send that in and be like, here's a version of that which you need to use on your trailer because that's the key song.
Yeah.
So it's like those moments, someone saved my life. You know, just have this like epic thing. And I can see like, I could visually talk to like that room in LA, how they talk about like, pitch your song or pitch your idea. I could literally pitch this whole thing in my mind. Like, here's how you need to do it. You need to look like this and then smash cut to this. And then like, I have a whole thing with that. So like, I don't do trailers to answer your question in a long way, but I want to do that. Other projects, I've done some R&B stuff before this with a few artists. One of the artists released some stuff and then ended up taking it down. But just a little bit of pop and R&B stuff. And of course I've played, there's a really great producer in town. His name's Eddie Ferguson. I've played guitar on like a lot of his artist stuff and helped with a little bit of like, not even producing, but I've written some riffs that have like led the songs, if you will, with some of the artists he's worked with. But he's next role. He has an artist named Shreya who's, I've got some stuff like guitar riffs and stuff on a lot of her stuff. And she's insane. She's starting to blow up, which is really cool. But yeah.
Right on, dude.
Yeah. So that's been it so far. Long journey, as it were.
Good deal.